Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. This is episode 163. Joe and Nick went on the call, continuing our series of breaking down and going into every team's offseason, thinking about what they can do better for next season in the NFL. Nick is going to be breaking down the Arizona Cardinals today.
Sir, Arizona Cardinals, I gave them a season grade of a C-. For me, it all came down to a lot of the defense and Kyler and Marv connection not being exactly what everybody thought it was going to be. Going through their ranks real quick, on offense, they were 11th in points per game, 11th in yards per game, 8th in third down percentage conversions, 7th in rush yards per game, 18th in pass yards per game. So like all middle of the pack to like top 10, 7th in rushing. They obviously, we know they ran the ball really well. James Conner had like a comeback season. Kyler ran the ball like he usually does, had a few long touchdowns throughout the year. It was the defense that really, really was not very good. Opposing points per game, 16th. Opposing yards per game, 20th. Opponent rush yards per game, 20th. Opponent pass yards per game, 15th. And then opponent third down percentage, 27th. So terrible against opponents on third down. So yeah, like that was like, you can see right there what really went wrong. Their defense was not great at all the whole year. We knew that. On offense, the Kyler and Marv connection, like I said, just wasn't there. We saw Trey McBride had this breakout season, but I feel like they either were trying to force it to Marv, or like the conversation was always about, are we forcing it to Marv? Kyler's having interviews saying like, it's not my job to get him the ball. Like, that obviously just didn't go as smoothly as they wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
So like Kyler would either, throw it to him, like either Marv couldn't get open or Kyler's throwing a contested pass to him, which we know, and Kyler also just isn't great at that. They struggled getting the ball in the end zone consistently when they got into the red zone. And then, like I said, their defense is just lackluster. And when you're 27th third down percentage, you can't get that really bad defense off the field. You're just going to give up a lot of points. And you know what? I think this is like year 5 of Kyler. We still don't know if he's the guy. 7th in completion percentage, 11th in yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 16th in QBR. And like the thing is, like their offense got better. Like I said, we had the Trey McBride breakout. We had the James Conner comeback season. We had the 4th overall pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson had a good year. So it's just kind of scary seeing that Kyler isn't getting to that point where people thought he was going to be. He was the number 1 pick. But in the offseason, there are a few ways they can go. They do have the 16th pick, and they have a whopping $71 million in cap space because they're paying like nobody but Kyler. You do have, I think Trey McBride is up next year. So I think I looked up, he's projected to get like $11 million per year. So I take that out, probably got like $60 million cap, because I think if I'm them, I'm signing him as early as we can. Like I'm signing him now. With the 16th pick, I'm taking the best available defensive player, preferably D-line or inside linebacker. Mocks say James Pierce or Michael Williams, both edge players, which is fine. I would also show up cornerback and like maybe O-line, because Kyler did get hurried like the 7th most in the league, but like obviously we know he's mobile, so like whatever. But I think you should maybe shore up the O-line, maybe a late round running back or wide receiver. Like, James Conner is getting old, but you do have Trey Benson, who looked pretty good when he was on the field. You do have Marv and like Michael Wilson, a few other like random people, Greg Dortch, but like having another named wide receiver would be nice. But I do also have them looking at a few people in free agency. Their top free agents, like I said, they just aren't paying that many people. So like there aren't really that many people that are coming off contracts. Kaiser White, 29-year-old linebacker. I think I would sign him back because I think he was pretty good last year. And it's only like $5 million, $6 million that he's marketed. So I don't think it's a bad idea to bring him back. I would bring back Will Hernandez, 30-year-old guard, for about $5 million. as well as Dennis Gardeck, 31-year-old edge, 3-4 mil, just to keep up these players that are at least making some money and are okay. We need, like I said, like their defense just isn't good. They don't have many people that are actually contributing. They gave up a lot of people. They gave up Isaiah Simmons to the Giants, and now he's a dog. Like I knew he was going to be a dog. So like after all these signs, they have about like 50, 55 mil. I try to lock up like a really good corner safety. So DJ Reed from the Niners or Javarius Ward if they let him loose are two guys that I would look at just to get, again, a big name on defense. You need like something. You need a playmaker somewhere, a defensive leader. I don't think they have that. I think Isaiah Simmons was that. But yeah. And then I'd also look at an lineman, and then you do have 50 mil. I wouldn't hate bringing in like a big name receiver, like a T. Higgins, or maybe trading for Cooper Kupp or Chris Godwin. I know is like, I think, a free agent. Even though he's coming off an injury, it might be a little bit cheaper. Just to have another weapon, because like I said, it just feels like he was forcing Marv a lot, or people are doubling Trey McBride, or like it's just a lot of people just weren't getting open. And Kyler's rushing around, and like we know you can just see it in your head of Kyler running around the back, and then just nobody's open, and he just throws it away or takes a sack 20 yards in the backfield. So like, and those are like those drive enders that they have, and they have trouble keeping up drives. So I think just grabbing some of these pieces allows for some more consistency on offense, while just getting pieces that have potential on the defensive side of the ball. Because obviously we know getting a good defense together isn't going to come together in 1 year. So I think they have to start hitting their picks. Like they're in a weird spot where they're the 16th pick. Like, so you're not really getting like anything high up in the draft. So you really have to hit on these like questionable guys and get some good guys in free agency. This year is kind of critical because we need to. I think it's time to make that decision on Kyler. I know he has that contract, but like we're in a time where like you have to win, dude. Like we can't be just sitting here being mid. And like it's year 5, and like I said, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That just ain't gonna cut it, dude.
Especially this year, like where like kind of your division was depleted. I mean, the Seahawks had the 1 seed for like a good amount of the year, and then the Rams got hot late.
Even the Cardinals, like you did hold the 1 seed at one point.
Yeah, I think every team in that division held the 1 seed at some point in the year.
Yeah, so like I don't know, like this was a definitely like I don't know, even a C- might be a little high because they were worse at one point. Like,
I would say C- is pretty fair. They're just in a tough spot, like you said, 71 mil in cap space. With how the defense is looking, you said a big name. I mean, I haven't really heard them much when people have mock trades for Myles Garrett, but
like I'm okay with
that might not
but
be
like
enough.
I said, they need other pieces, and like that'd be like you're giving up 2 firsts, and like can we afford to give up 2 firsts?
Maybe this is gonna be a big free agency period for them.
Yeah, because I think they need to go out and like make some moves.
If they have some cap space and they make really good moves on the defensive side of the ball, maybe bring in like maybe say you trade for somebody like Cooper Kupp or something, right? Say you do something like that to where you can trade for another receiver and it won't hit your cap too bad, and you make some adjustments to your secondary. Say you can bring in DJ Reed for a deal. That can kind of be your name, number 1 corner going into next year. Like, I would at least test it. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least try to test what the market is and see what you would have to give up for Myles Garrett, because he is a defensive changing player.
Oh, for sure.
But with some of the holes that you do need to address defensively, and you're kind of in a position where like you're still up in the air about Kyler being your guy, I think that could be a little too far-fetched, and it would cost you a lot.
Yeah.
But I think you would definitely have to test. You're doing your team a disservice if you don't. I feel like a lot of NFL teams are kind of in that middle of the pack, and they're kind of on that side because of their defense, and that's what the Cardinals are. In terms of Kyler being the guy,
I personally think he is.
I do too.
Like, I think they are like expecting a lot out of him, which as you should, but like you have a bottom 10 defense, dude. Like,
there's only so much he can do.
Like
he has to put up 27, 30, especially with how they've been the past 2 years. He was hurt last year with the ACL. He comes back this year, and I think maybe adding a receiver could help. Like you said, force feeding Marv, and he's even a rookie, so he's going through his growing pains as well. Maybe if you were to bring in like a veteran, more of like a steady hand, like somebody like I know would be in the same division, and I think they would do better to trade him somewhere that's like more title contending from the Rams' point of view in Cooper Cup. But somebody of that mold, somebody that's just more of a steady guy to get the ball to, and like Trey McBride signing him now rather than later, perfect move.
Gotta get that done now.
In terms
he's
of
gonna be like a top 5 tight end, dude.
Yeah. I think James Conner is perfectly fine. I think he fits what they want to do. He's somebody that makes it so easy when you get into that red zone to where you could just there's games where they just give him the ball 3 straight times to get in. So like, I think him and Benson are a really good
out of
pairing.
The backfield too, like he's like underrated catching the ball out of the backfield. I think you move forward with him no matter what. I think
him and Kyler seem to have built
a really good connection for sure. Yeah.
And then you have Trey Benson. I feel like I hate to bring this up because I feel like everybody brings up Gibbs and Monty just because that's like it's such a dynamic run duo. But like they kind of have that in like James Conner and then Trey Benson. Like
what they'll do is I think they put James Conner in until he's like tired. You're like, all right, like Benson, like go in there for like 5 plays, like, and then he does pretty well. So I think just to even make James Conner last a little longer, like make sure this was his first year. I feel like playing all 17 games, or I don't know if he played all 17, but he was mostly healthy the whole year.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's the first time in a while. So maybe you look forward to that a little bit, and you give Trey Benson a little bit more. Again, like I said, maybe I don't know if you bring in another guy, but like I said, Trey Benson looked good. So just to keep James Conner the whole year looking good, keep him healthy.
They need to go make a splash defensively.
Yes.
They have too much cap to. I know you're not huge on college, but I would really consider if I'm the Cardinals, if you didn't go the Myles Garrett route and you wanted to draft somebody, I would see what the market is on one of those teams in the top 4 to 5 trading back. Abdul Carter out of Penn is generational pass rusher, and he kind of fits that young timeline that you have building. If you could somehow, if one of those teams, like let's say, like the Giants, like decide they want to trade out,
right?
They went quarterback. They could take Hunter, but they would rather like I'd give up two firsts to go trade up and get Abdul Carter because he's that big of a prospect. So if you're not going to be in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes, you have to make a splash at some point. You have to go make a really good move. I know
you just Chase Young, mid forever, dude.
I know Chase Young is a free agent and he's been taking 1-year flyers. Maybe you get him like on a 1-year 14 or maybe a 2-year contract just to take a hit, take a splash, take a risk.
This money, dude. Like 71 mil, like they're top 5 in cap, and you're like you seem like you're trying to win, but you don't because you're not like making these moves.
But this is gonna be a very big time year for the Cardinals because I feel like like we said about how that division was all over the place this past year, but looking at it, Kyler's desperate right now for like some playoff run, for like a good, like a really good playoff performance.
He looked dead inside when he knew that they were eliminated.
Yeah,
he's still signed for another 3 years, dude. So like he ain't off the books for a minute.
But they have a lot of flexibility to where you're looking at this year man, we gotta go make some kind of splash or some kind of big move. Because if they don't, then you're just like, what are we doing? Are we just content with being like a 8-9-ish win team every year?
Right.
Because at some point, you got to think the Niners will age out. At some point, the Niners will have to enter a rebuild in this Kyler Murray era, you would think. And the Rams are, I feel like, getting ahead of the curve. You see Cooper Kupp available. You see talks about what they're going to do with Stafford on the extension. He's older. They could move him. I've heard all the kinds of
They have a very young defense. Very young defense.
Yeah, so they could easily flip and go in a different direction as well, depending on how this offseason unfolds. And then it's like the Seahawks, who like they're also on the realm of like, you could be better than the Seahawks, in my opinion, if you got your defense together.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. In terms of Kyler being the guy, I think he is, but time will tell. He's very desperate and due for kind of like maybe a playoff run or maybe just a really, really like a 30 touchdown, like sub 10 pick year, like just a year where he's just like really, really good. And I think he has that in him. I think also coming off the ACL, I know he played a little bit in the back half of the year prior, but like coming off ACL, I feel like his mobility was still there. He was still able to maneuver and get out of the pocket when he needed to. So if anything told you this year is that the ACL injury didn't hinder him and his ability to be a mobile quarterback, which is what he hangs his hat on.
Yeah. I think they're going to be good in the future. I just gotta make some moves. Got to use this cash. Spend the cash you got.
I mean, I don't really have anything else to add for the Cardinals.
That's all I got.
But Cardinals just use the cash, like you said.
Use your cash.
But we can wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Obviously, tune in to future episodes.